ahead and get started. Welcome to our next community building office hours Meetup Live event. My name is Alex. I am a senior customer support lead here at Meetup. I've been here for about 5 years. We've been hosting these community building office hours for what, Colin, like a year?
Almost now? A year?
Maybe
yeah.
And these ones are really fun in comparison to some of the other Meetup Live events we do, because they're always a little more intimate and they're always a little bit more personal because we're directly answering your questions. I'm joined today by...
Hello, I'm Colin, manager of customer support here at Meetup. And I'm a Meetup organizer. I run a yoga for beginners group. It's an online group. So I'm looking forward to answering some of these questions you submitted.
Oh, no. Cool. All right, we'll go ahead and get started here. As always, we like to go through the event guidelines for everyone so you know what to expect. First and foremost, this video will be recorded and you do not appear in the video. You also will not be heard in this video when it is recorded because you have been courtesy muted. The only people you should be seeing or hearing will be the presenters and our lovely slide deck that we prepared for you today. If you do have questions, though, this is an interactive event. We would love for you to post any questions you have in our Q&A feature. We have some support specialists on the line ready to answer questions for you in real time. Some of the questions that we will be answering out loud as the main portion of this event today were also gathered from questions that you have submitted. So please feel free to participate. We love hearing the questions. This really helps us hear what's important to you and answer some of those questions and support you. Last but not least, closed captioning is available. If you'd like to turn that on, you just click the live transcription icon at the bottom of your screen and select your preference. Today, some of the topics we will be examining are content visibility and privacy. So you'll learn who can see upcoming event details. We'll talk about what happens if there's a disagreement among members in your group and how you can handle that. We'll talk about monetization, figuring out exactly the right moment to start charging for people to RSVP at your events. Someone had submitted a question about organizer liability, a rare question that we get, but a persistent one. So we'll point you in the direction of some resources we have to support any concerns you might have about liability at your events. We'll talk about online Zoom safety, always an important issue. And then we will also answer a more technical question about the difference between site-wide profile photos and group profile photos, not only the difference between them, but how to upload each. All right, but before we dive into those questions, Colin is going to take us through some product updates and show us some new features and some upcoming features on Meetup. So, Colin.
All right. Yeah, so I just have one update for you. Well, this is like 2 in 1 slide. So the Member Plus team has launched a feature on the event page and the group homepage, where you can see on the group page who will be there. Sorry, the group page is like about our members. Sorry, the about our members is like how many members have recently joined and the ratio of genders, how many members are in your age range. So you can see before you join a group, kind of like an overview of what type of members are in the group. And then we also have on the event page, the who will be there section. So that is specific to the event. So you can see how many people are attending for the first time. And then also the ratio of genders, how many in your age range, what they're looking for, and the interests. So these are 2 little updates where you can see these insights on the group and event page. This is available to organizers and Member Plus subscribers. Cool. And then the next update is just a reminder about our organizer app. If you haven't already, give it a shot. Please let us know what you think. And we love to hear the feedback about it because I found it to be helpful for editing events on the go and kind of managing my group and members. Yeah, so we have the QR code right here. You can scan it and it will bring you to the page to download it if you want to give it a try.
Thanks, Colin. Without further ado, let's dive right into the main portion of our event today. We have prepared some questions that we received through that form in our event homepage before today, questions that were submitted from organizers and Meetup users like yourself. First and foremost, a question about group privacy and what information non-members can see about your groups. The question is, if my group is public, can every public member see all of my events, details, and addresses of events? Or can they only see events once they have joined the group? We have a lot more specific information about exactly what details are visible in public versus private groups, but addressing the specific question here about the events, the event details, and very particularly the address of the event. If it's a public group, yes, the title, the date, the time of that upcoming event, and the location are going to be visible. If you want to restrict the information about where your event is being hosted, either to control, some people just for the sake of controlling how many attendees actually show up so that you have like a very specific attendee limits. If you've got like a venue that has those specific attendee limits, sometimes there are deeper concerns that there are particular people that you don't want to show up or that you don't want to have information about where your group is meeting. So if those are concerns, you can always change your group privacy settings to restrict that information. Once you change your group from public to private, that's a permanent change, it cannot be changed back from private to public. The reason for that is that if someone joins a private group, that's sort of like a contract that's being set up with the member joining the group. They joined under the assumption that certain bits of information were going to be restricted. They need to be able to continue expecting that. If the group then changes back to public, that means there's more information being shared. That's not what they agreed to. So in order to protect not just the organizers, but the members themselves, switching from public to private is a permanent change.
Yeah.
Also some information that's restricted for people who don't have Meetup accounts. So if you are a registered member of Meetup, you'll see the information on the bullet points here. Colin, did you want to add something?
I was just going to talk about the member list. That's another part of the sometimes, organizers don't necessarily want to show all the members in their group. And also, so basically, if you set your group to private, then non-members will not be able to see like the list of members and everyone in it and the answers to their profile questions and stuff. So it's just another benefit of having a private group if that's what you want.
Thanks, Colin. A lot of the information we're going to review today will also point you in the direction of help center articles that'll have like permanent postings of this information. So if we mention something and you want to refer to it later, we'll point you in the direction of the relevant article. Emily has just posted in the chat for our Zoom meeting today a help center article about content visibility, which is another word for group privacy. And it will break down exactly what's available on public groups and exactly what's visible for private groups. So if you're interested in that, please take a look and make sure you save that link. Moving on to question 2. Colin, do you want to take this one?
Sure. Okay, this one is, can I start charging a membership fee now to new people that want to join after I have 160 members? So the answer is yes, you can set a membership fee, or in other words, member dues, at any time. You don't have to have a certain number of members. You can turn it on, you can turn it off, whatever works for your groups. There's no benchmark or prerequisite for activating any of the monetization features. You can test your options, see what works best for your needs in your community. For those who don't know about member dues is something that is required for members to stay in your group. So when someone joins if you have member dues turned on and someone joins your group, they will be given a certain trial period, and that's up to you. You can set, I think, 30, 60, 90 days, I believe, for that member. And then once that trial period is up, they are asked to, or they're required to pay the membership due that you set. And those dues will keep them in the group. And as long as they stay in the group, they can continue attending your events. So a lot of organizers use this to kind of offset the cost of hosting events and even in their organizer's subscription or whatever. So you can use those dues for whatever works for you. And in order to get to your membership dues setting, I'm just going to show you. So I'll just take over screen sharing. If I go, sorry, when I head over to Meetup, I'm here on my Meetup group homepage. I'm gonna head over to my group. And then if you click manage group, it's under the edit group settings. And you can see member dues right here. So this just kind of like, I started to set up my dues for my group. If you haven't like finished your account on Stripe, then that'll prompt you to do so. But yeah, so it'll automatically renew. So when members add their credit card information, they'll be automatically charged. Depending on how frequent you charge them, you can charge them monthly or annually. You can cover the cost of whatever. And there is a low fee that that is withdrawn from the charge. And there's a bunch of FAQs here. So anyway, just wanted to kind of show this page. You can take back over, Alex, if you want.
Sure.
Cool.
So
good question.
Yeah, I'll also call out too, Colin was mentioning that at the end of a trial period, our system will remind your member, your trial period's running out, you have to pay if you want to remain a member of the group. If they don't pay, they are automatically removed from the group. And if they want to rejoin, they do not get a second trial period. They have to immediately pay those dues.
Yeah, there is, sorry to cut you off. There is a feature where you can waive the dues for someone. So if you have like a leadership team and you don't want them to pay dues, then you can waive them so that they don't pay and they stay in the group. Go ahead.
Yeah, just on a broad overview level about member dues, because we are getting sort of into the nitty gritty of it. The overall question here is like, can I start charging? And the answer is, yeah, you can start charging whenever you want. But when you start playing with money, obviously like the stakes get a little bit higher for your members as well as for yourself. So it's worth testing your options. We offer other monetization features as well. There's just charging for RSVPing to an event. And usually organizers charge like a very small amount. And that small amount can be a nice way to encourage show-ups and attendance. We have statistics that show members who RSVP to events and even pay just $1, they're likelier to actually show up because they've invested a little bit of money. For organizers in the US, I know we have quite a few people joining us from other countries today, but if you are based in the US, we have a third monetization feature called fundraising that's entirely optional. You just post a campaign on your group homepage or optionally on event homepages. You tell them what the money is going to go towards, and people can choose whether or not they want to donate toward your fundraising campaign for your group. It's worth first of all, demonstrating to your group members what your group offers, the kind of events that you host. That way, your members have a stronger sense about what it is that they're paying for. I would say that's probably the key thing to keep in mind before you start charging, is just make sure you're being really transparent with people what it is that they're paying for. I think probably the biggest pitfall with setting up member dues or event fees or any of the monetization features is if you set it up and you haven't done that communication beforehand, oftentimes you'll see a decline in engagement because people don't know why they would need to pay. So a lot of things to keep in mind there about member dues, and we can always revisit this at a later time as well. Question 3. This is a persistent question we get. I've linked my Zoom account and a Zoom room link to my regular monthly event. So this is someone who has scheduled a repeating event. And it's a remote event. They're using the same Zoom link for each instance of this repeating event. The last time I published, no one could see the link. How can I check this ahead of time? So when it comes to repeating events, the Zoom link likely will not be visible until the event reminders have gone out for that event. That means like it's sort of activated, people have started RSVPing. It is like the next upcoming event in that series. So if you have inserted that same Zoom link into a repeating event, anyone who starts RSVPing, they're going to have access to that link. They're going to see the next event in the series, and they'll have access to the link. If for some reason a member says to you that they do not see the link, first, I would encourage them to make sure that they're logged into their Meetup account and that they have RSVP'd to that event. Sometimes members think that they've RSVP'd to that event because they RSVP'd to the previous event in a series. and they think it's like RSVPing to every event in this series. Not always true. So it requires a little bit of communication just to work out with them, like what state their RSVP is in. And you can always check your attendee list and see if they have indeed RSVP'd. If they have, and if they're logged in an emergency, like if you're out of time, you can always DM them or text them the Zoom link. I did want to call out, if there are ongoing issues with link visibility for any reason, that is a great thing to contact our community support team about, because we will want to investigate that. We'll need to investigate if it's simply an account issue, like if it is just a member who doesn't know where to look, has RSVP'd in the wrong place, or if there's actually some sort of bug or an error that is going on that is actually disrupting your group. We do have a landing page with easy access to submit a ticket to our community support team. We'll be posting a lot of those resources about how to contact our community support team later in the presentation today. But I did want to call out, that's like a great instance where if you've done the due diligence of contacting that member, making sure they're RSVP'd, and they're still saying that they don't see the link, we can definitely investigate that on our end as part of the community support team. Did you want to add anything to that, Colin?
No, you covered it. Thanks.
Cool. Well then, I'll move right along to question 4.
My turn. When are people going to be able to add a new close-up photo using the app when they join a group? This is an interesting question, and I think it ultimately comes down to a feature request. So I think this question is referring to like a face photo, a close-up photo of the app when they join a group. I've heard this a lot where organizers require their members to have an actual face photo so that they know this is a real human. They want to get to know you. They want to see who's coming to my event, which makes sense. So they might require that when you join a group, and that's totally reasonable. But at this time, Meetup, we don't use any like facial recognition software, so we don't really know whether the profile photo that they have is a face photo. They could have a photo of their dog, you know, butterflies, whatever. We see it all. But if it's not a face photo, we don't really have that technology. We don't have the technology built into our product where we can like immediately say you needed a face photo. That's something that really right now will come down to the organizer to review and enforce any group regulations that you have for this. So, if you do have a requirement for a face photo, I recommend going into your group settings, turning on the require profile photo on. Also, maybe set your group to the new member request so that when they do request to join your group, it'll go into a pending members section. And then you can review who these pending members are and see, oh, they have a face pic, boom, you're in. They don't have a Facebook, maybe DM them and say, hey, FYI, this is our requirements. Look in my group description. I clearly outlined my rules. So there's a lot of kind of workarounds for that. But right now it's really a feature request, and we don't have a way to immediately prompt them to upload a face pic. They just need a general profile picture. We don't know what that is though. So yeah, great feature request idea. If you, we're going to post later in the presentation how to submit feature requests. So stay tuned for that.
Cool. All right. Moving right along. So this was an interesting question. Like I said, I've been working here at Meetup for a few years now, and this question comes up every so often. It's not frequent, but it is an understandable concern. Somebody said they're based in the UK, and they asked if they need insurance to run an event, and if so, which insurance? So we take a bit of a tricky stance with this here. Colin and I cannot offer specific legal advice, and Meetup as a company does not offer specific Meetup advice around this issue. We're aware it's a concern for some organizers, so we've tried to post some resources that can help navigate this. Ultimately, if you're worried that there's a legal issue, we really recommend contacting a lawyer, because the lawyer is going to know best in your region what the specific requirements are. Most of the time, we support the organizer running the group however they choose to run it. Whatever your codes of conduct for your group are, that's the expectation, and any member is agreeing to those codes of conduct by joining the group. If you want to take extra steps in order to set up liability waivers for events, and situations where that might be necessary are like, say, if you're going hiking for a really long time, it's something like that involves a lot of athletic activity, a lot of strain, possibly hiking in a more dangerous place. That was always like sort of the key example I heard about why it would be necessary. We do offer some help center articles, generally just explaining our position on organizer liability at events, and offering some links to resources that had sample liability waivers, which you can download and adapt for your own group as necessary. We don't want you to feel like, you're completely out in the cold when it comes to liability, but it's not something that we're able to really support on an individual basis this way, which is why we provide these templates as sort of general guidance. Our help center has more information about general organizer liability and the waivers themselves. I believe Emily has posted in the chat with those links. She has indeed. Thank you, Emily. If you have more questions about liability at events, please feel free to check those out. Feel free to download the sample forms and adapt them for your group. Interesting question.
Cool. Good question. All right. Question 6. Is there a way to track repeat offenders of no-shows? Cool. Okay, so this one is definitely a popular request. We did build the ability to mark members or take attendance or check people in the organizer app. And when you do so, you can flag members as a no-show. So if you mark them as absent, then you can have the option to flag as no-show, and then it will show up in your attendance list in the org app. It'll show up in your attendance list on web. You can see the screenshot at the top here that Alex, in this example event, he didn't go, but he's also marked as a no-show. And then also, if you visit his group profile, you can see the RSVP section. He's attended twice, but he's not attended twice, and he was marked one time as a no-show. And so all of this is done through the organizer app when you check them in, and you can see from a specific member what their no-show count is. So offers a breakdown of their overall attendance to all the events they've RSVP'd to. Now, in terms of the question about repeat offenders, I will say that the way this is currently set up, I wouldn't say that necessarily accomplishes. Looks like we lost Alex. But I wouldn't say that necessarily accomplishes what you're trying to do, the repeat offenders part. You can view a profile to see how many times they have been a no-show, but I can't think of anywhere in the product where we have like an overall list of like the top no-showers. But that's a good request. I'm actually going to take over screen share because I think Alex's internet popped out, but I have the presentation right here. So let's do it. This one. Cool. But yeah, it's a good question. 1 second. Slideshow. All right. I'll try to answer these other questions. Cool. Okay, so this one is question 7. How do you deal with members that don't like you? This is an interesting one. So of course, as you organize events and groups, you may encounter some people that maybe you don't vibe with, or they don't vibe with you for whatever reason. There could be some drama. Hopefully not, but just on the off chance that there is, we do encourage organizers to try addressing any interpersonal conflicts privately, just to, no one likes it when you blow up a group chat or, blow up a group and make airing dirty laundry, So, but we do support organizers running groups however they see fit. So if you have rules that you want your group to adhere to, if you have a certain way that you want people to act, that is your call. That is totally, this is your group. You can do whatever, you can do what you want with it. So if a member creates an issue in your community, you're totally empowered to remove them. You can talk to them before. You don't have to talk to them before. You can do what you deem is, appropriate. In situations where you feel unsafe, we have our trust and safety team, where they're here to make sure that there's no abuse that happens on our platform. So definitely please reach out to our trust and safety team if anything like that happens. So just wanted to call that out, and definitely emphasize that, again, this is your group. I do recommend, if you do have those things that you want your members to, those values you want your members to act by, post it in your group description, post it in the welcome message, post it publicly so that people can see what kind of group you want to run and that you expect respect. So definitely encourage that communication. Cool. All right, I'll move on to question 8. Are we able to call anyone live if we have technical issues or problems with the website as Meetup organizers? So we don't actually offer phone support, but we do have our community support team that supports you 7 days a week through email. We also have support on social support on Facebook and Twitter, and we have our Discord community. So if you ever have questions, we are definitely here to help. I think Discord is a great resource, not only to get support from the community support team, but also through other organizers. The other organizers offer super valuable insights, and they probably have more experience than a lot of our support team. So it's really valuable to jump into Discord if you can, and ask your questions there. Hey, Alex. Did your internet
Hi,
cut
sorry
out?
about that. My Wi-Fi went out temporarily, but I am
No
back
worries.
answering questions.
No problem.
Whew.
I was just wrapping up this. I think this is the last question. This was about our support team. But do you want to talk a little more about Discord, our Discord community?
Certainly. Yeah. We started the Discord community, I want to say less than 2 years ago, but it's expanded very rapidly. We have a team of organizer mentors, one of whom has joined us today. Hi, Seal.
Hi, Seal.
And our organizer mentors are available. They take shifts, 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening. They share their experiences and tips and tricks, and they generally offer support for people who are building their own communities. Beyond those mentors, there's also thousands of organizers who are sharing pictures, questions, general, experiences that they're having with their own groups. And it's a great way for people to share, the experience of being an organizer. I think a big blocker that we've heard from a lot of new organizers particularly is this sense of responsibility and burden of having to build all of this yourself. The Discord community is a really great way to feel like you're not in it alone, that other people are going through these same questions, these same challenges, and that they're finding solutions that work for them and that are really paying off and making the process of building those meetup groups all the more fulfilling. So Discord is an instant messaging platform. You need an account in order to access it. So if you click the link that Emily has posted and you don't already have an account, you'll have to set that up first. But once you do, you can join the server. There's a channel called Start Here where you just answer a handful of questions, and then you can join the broader server. Join any of the conversations that are happening about groups that match your own interests. You can also participate in new events that we're hosting exclusively through Discord, where organizers sort of answer questions one-on-one, sort of like Colin and I are doing now. So it's an exciting new space where we are, building our own sort of community for organizers. And we do also have support available through the Discord server as well, as this slide suggests.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. I think that brings us to our last question that was submitted earlier on, but we're happy to take any other questions that you have. if you use the Q&A feature in the Zoom bar, in the Zoom window, you can submit your questions. So let's see what we got.
So the first question we got is from KB, who asks, why has member tagging, which was a very useful tool for many outdoor meetups, been eliminated? I actually asked our support specialist to follow up and clarify what we meant by member tagging. And it sounds like we're talking about photo tagging specifically. Colin, do you know the current status of tagging in photos? I know we recently did some work on the photo uploader.
Yeah, so that was a photo redesign that happened in, I think, the first or like the last quarter of last year or the first quarter of this year. And they redesigned the photo albums page. And I believe that the tagging feature where you can tag members in the photo was it was just no longer supported. I'm not sure the reason why, but that's a feature that basically is no longer exists in the photo album experience. And I'm sorry, I can't really speak to the reason why, but I will say that a lot of the feedback that we heard, besides the photo tagging part, a lot of the feedback we heard for the photo albums experience was super helpful, because we heard things about photo resolution and photo commenting. That was a really big one that wasn't originally in the redesign, but because we heard from you and other organizers, that was prioritized and eventually added into the redesign. And if it wasn't for people to reach out and say, I use this feature, please add it, it wouldn't have been built. So, but I believe that tagging is referring to that.
And this is the second time today when we've sort of brought up the value and the importance of the feature request form. In the past, we've done events like this, and we've actually opened up that form and shown people how to submit those requests. We do have another QR code in the slide deck towards the end, just to share the links with you so that you have access to it. But it's pretty straightforward. It's a Google form. You select the part of the Meetup product, whether it's on the website or on the app that you have a question about, the specific feature, and then there's a space for you to write out your request. And then we ask for some information just to get a sense about what kind of organizer you are, the size of your group, if you've got Meetup Pro, that sort of thing. And we take all of that information, we categorize it, we submit it to our product team, and they analyze based on the number of requests that we get. And it helps inform the choices that we make in terms of what we change and what we adapt for Meetup.
Yeah.
So really good to keep an eye out for that stuff. Cool. All right. Next question comes from Lisa. Lisa says, we're having a constant battle getting the info we need from the downloads. We are hosting a hybrid event, which we posted as an online event, and we added a question to the RSVP. For our in-person attendees, we need the member name and the email for our company security policy, and they need to show their ID when they arrive for the event. The problem we're having is that we have to download registration responses and member details, and then we have to merge the lists. Know who is attending in person and also what their actual name and email is. The name that they put on the RSVP may not match the member name, so we have all sorts of problems confirming the actual name. Some people use aliases. That's another problem. Is there any way to get all of the member details and responses in a single download? So this is quite a complicated issue. There's a couple of things I think we can call attention to first. Meetup.
Yes. Sorry, I'm just going to see if I can see the section that they're referring to. But go ahead, Alex.
You're pulling up the Excel,
the download.
Yeah. So I think part of the problem here is that for every event that Lisa's hosting, it sounds like there has to be two separate events, one of which is for online and one of which is for in person. And there's different information that gets collected for each version.
So I see. So one event is online, one event has a location or in person, but when they download the attendee details here, it downloads it to like an CSV or XLS, and the information in here is different between each group events. I'm not sure if I think that's, so there's a bunch of information here, like the name
Yeah.
of people who have RSVP'd, the title, event, if they're the event host, guests. But it sounds like not all the information that they download or in this download is not consistent.
Well, it sounds like they're asking for different pieces of information for each version of the event because they need to collect different things and they have to merge it into one Excel sheet. So, which is a tedious time consuming. I totally understand that. Two things I would say. First and foremost, let's talk about the aliases issue, the fact that you need specific names and people's like profile names on Meetup don't necessarily match their in-person names. I would take the extra step of setting down some guidelines in your group description or in your event description and say you require that if you're going to turn up, like presumably they know that they have to bring their ID since you're checking it there, and say like your ID must match your Meetup name for, you can say whatever reason that you have for it. But I think setting those expectations is going to hopefully relieve some of the headache here. A lot of organizers who set those kind of expectations also add, like, if you don't follow these rules, it can be grounds for like you can't attend the event, or even like it can be grounds for removal from the group, which I know sounds like it might be sort of a harsh step to take, but frequently in these Meetup Live events, we've been saying like it's an important tactic to keep in mind as an organizer for a group, because what you're really doing is performing hygiene on your member list. You're making sure that the people who are participating in your community are actually the kind of people who you want in your community. So if people are constantly creating attendance problems for you, even after you've set some expectations, are these really people that you want being part of your group? And that isn't meant to sound ruthless or cruel. That's just meant to be like, it's your community as much as theirs. Like you have some rights here as well. And as an organizer, we support the choices that you make to lead your group. The bigger concern here is the merging of these exported attendee details. We have recently been talking about the fact that our product team is actively developing hybrid events, so that rather than publishing an in-person event and an online event, you can publish one that would support both. It is a complicated process for us because Meetup has existed for so long primarily as an in-person platform. Like you'll create the event online, but the whole point was to get off your computer and meet up in person. So we're dealing with a lot of the old structures of Meetup as we try to mesh the necessities of hosting hybrid events. Hopefully we will have more to share on that soon. We don't have an exact timeline on that yet, but we do want to acknowledge, we know that that is a big concern for a lot of organizers to start hosting hybrid events and to see that Meetup is actively supporting those events in a more substantial way. When that happens, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Colin.
No, I was just gonna say, and I want to make sure that the details for that hybrid event shows all, the attendee details that you download is consistent for hybrid events. So I'm in touch with our PM, one of our PMs, Nicole, who's developing this. So I'll make sure, I'm going to review your question offline, and I'm going to make sure and do some testing. I want to make sure that that's accounted for while we're building this, because that makes a lot of sense. And I want to make sure that works for you.
Cool. All right, we got a couple more minutes for a few more questions. I'm going to move on to the next question from Kevin, who asks, is Meetup geared more towards free get-togethers, or is it geared more to promoting businesses? That's a good question. Colin, do you want to take this one?
What was it? You said free
Meetup,
events versus...
Is it geared more towards free get-togethers or more toward promoting businesses?
I don't know off the top of my head. I would think of it more as free. But maybe I'm biased because I host free events. But there are a lot of businesses on Meetup that thrive because they're able to get members to attend, and they might charge an event fee, or they might meet clients or customers or people who, even though their events are free, they still are able to bring them over to their business in one way or another. So yeah, I don't really know off the top of my head. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think I personally wouldn't say it's geared more one way or the other. I think we do have a subscription tier called Meetup Pro, which is sort of designed more for the business tier customer. Like part of the thought behind Meetup Pro is that a lot of businesses want a broader reach than a standard organizer. Typically, like if you create a group and you get a standard subscription, you can create 3 groups, and they're all going to be based sort of locally around whatever location you're physically in. Again, that's like sort of the original structure of Meetup, is about creating local community. So Meetup Pro supports a broader, sometimes global reach. You can create as infinite number of groups in as many different cities as you want. You can post a network event, which would hit one event published to all groups in that network. There are also some additional analytics tools and some additional communication tools available to Meetup Pro administrators. So we do have
that definitely has more like a business side in a way.
Yeah. So we do have features that are specifically tooled towards some supporting businesses. But I would think primarily like the majority of organizers and the majority of groups are probably going to be geared toward more local communities. Whether that means free, that's a different question, because people can charge for their events, they can charge member dues. You know, a lot of people are offsetting costs of being an organizer in various ways, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're supporting a business that way. So it's an interesting question. I think if you're interested to learn more about Meetup Pro, we can definitely post a link to the Pro landing page, which has more information and details about a free trial that you can enroll in. Cool. Let's see. Next question comes from Paul. Paul asks, sounds like a physical meeting place is no longer required, that an event can be completely virtual. Is this true? This is an interesting question. So yes, Meetup supports online events. You can have a group that hosts only online events. This did not used to be true. We would used to only support groups that would have in-person like meeting off of your computer events. And it would be grounds for like your group might be closed if you were meeting exclusively.
Yeah, we said like you could have one online event, like, I don't know, a month or something very specific.
Yeah.
But that was a while ago.
Yeah, and obviously during the pandemic, everybody needed to adapt. So we've started supporting online events. We have plenty of groups that only host online events. However, every group still does need to have a physical location selected when the group is created. Again, this is part of the original structure of Meetup. It is a persistent question we get that a lot of people who are hosting online events feel that because it's online and it's not anchored to any one location, they should be able to get a broader outreach. Anchoring your online events in the location of your group necessarily means that some of the notifications that go out are only going to reach people within the area of the group. There are ways around that right now, particularly promoting online events using your social media networks. I've also suggested to organizers that you post information about your events like as flyers on bulletin boards at public libraries or at community centers. That's a nice way to reach people in a broader way, although that is more of a local thing. But part of the reason I'm saying this is you may or may not have heard of the Ryan Meetup, which turned into a massive event. Just this guy named Ryan decided he wanted to meet up with everybody else named Ryan. And he literally did post flyers. Granted, it was around New York City, which obviously is going to be like a highly populated area, but the flyers themselves went viral online. And so the event became truly massive. Not necessarily a replicatable event, but it's worth thinking about in that context that even though your group has to be located in a specific area, there are ways to sort of work around that and get an online event reaching a broader network.
Yeah, and even I would say our search tools on Meetup are pretty good, because even with my, I have an online yoga group where I just do yoga with people online. I get people from all over the world just by even though I'm located in Brooklyn. So my group is technically in Brooklyn, but I get people who join from outside of the United States all the time. So it really comes down to just kind of the natural way that people discover your events on Meetup. So hopefully that makes you feel a little better about our online conundrum.
These are excellent questions. And I think they're pointing to some concerns that we know our organizers have around online events, around like monetization, around hybrid events, all of that stuff. So I want to make sure that we sort of share some resources so that you have access to our community support team. We're out of time for today, and if we did not get to your question, we want to make sure that you are empowered to contact the people you need to contact, that you can get the answers you're looking for. So first and foremost, we have several times today mentioned the feature request form, and I'm just going to stress one more time what an important and crucial piece of the Meetup experience this form is. The QR code, or Emily has posted the direct link in chat. If you have suggestions about parts of Meetup that you'd like to see changed, improved, expanded upon, please share your feedback there. If you don't have any specific recommendations, but you want to stay up to date on the latest things that we are rolling out, the latest things that we are updating, the product updates page in our Community Matters blog will give you the most recent news about what you can access using Meetup on both the website and the apps. Our help center, as I have said today, contains a lot of information about not only how to navigate Meetup, but how to get the most out of Meetup. At the bottom of every single article, you will find a link that says get help, and that will create a email link, an email ticket that will go to our community support team. We'll be in touch to work with you on a one-on-one account-specific level and answer your questions. And last but not least, if something has gone catastrophically wrong and you're seeing an error message while you're using either the website or the apps, please use this direct request that you see in the bottom right screen and that QR code. Again, Emily is also posting a direct link. By submitting direct bug reports, it allows our troubleshooting team to investigate more efficiently and roll out fixes faster so that you can go back to building your community. And last but not least, as we mentioned in our last question that had been pre-submitted, we want to recommend and encourage and champion the organizer community on Discord. Once again, it's an instant messaging platform. We have a huge community of working organizers who are sharing their experiences. We also have quite a few of the Meetup engineers who are checking for feedback about new features as they roll out. It's a thriving community. We'd love to see you in there, so feel free to join. That is our time for today. Thank you so much for joining us for another community building office hours. This has been Meetup Live. I'm Alex, that's Colin, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day and night. Bye.